This is Ken Smith, reminding you it happened today, May 20th, but the year was 325, the first Christian ecumenical council meeting in Nicaea. It's said that all of the participants bore on their body the signs of being tortured by the Roman Empire. It was on this day, 1293, an earthquake strikes Japan. 30,000 people are killed. It was on this day, 1310, that shoes were made for both the right and left feet. It was on this day, 1873, Levi Strauss patents the first blue jeans with copper rivets. It was on this day, 1896, that the 6-ton chandelier of the Palace Opera House in Paris falls on the crowd, resulting in the death of one and the injury of others, being the basis for the scene in The Phantom of the Opera. It was on this day, 1927, 7:40 in the morning, Charles Lindbergh takes off from New York in the spirit of St. Louis to make the first non-stop aircraft crossing of the Atlantic Ocean. 5 years later, the same day, Amelia Earhart leaves Newfoundland on her journey to become the first woman to fly solo nonstop across the Atlantic. It was on this day, 1970, 100,000 people march in New York supporting the U.S. policies in Vietnam. It was only 4 years ago today, David Letterman, after 33 years as host of The Late Show, has his last broadcast. But that was May the 20th in the past. This is May the 20th, 2020. Belmar, New Jersey. Police arrived at the scene, meeting the owners of a gym who have opened up their gym to their members-only clients. The owners, Ian Smith and Frank Trombetti, received another summons for a violation by the governor's orders. Trombetti said, "They're going to have to take other steps to shut us down. We are not shutting down. I promised my wife, I swore to her, that the day I opened my doors, whether it was because they said I could open the doors or not, I will not close the doors of the gym again unless I am behind bars and unable to unlock the door. I guarantee you this, that the door will be open every single day to this gym unless the police put me behind bars." The owners said the decision to resume operations at the members-only facility was not about financial gain, but rather a question of constitutional rights. We truly believe that if we don't do this, in the end, we will have zero rights and no say in what happens. Chicago, Harold's Chicken on Broadway created a stir by one item that was added to the receipt, a 26% COVID-19 surcharge, which the owner said was a result of increased costs from food suppliers. New Delhi, India, and Bangladesh are preparing to evacuate up to 3 million people who are in the path of a devastating cyclone, a challenge that's made even more daunting by the rising number of virus infections in both countries. The cyclone is expected today to slam into the river delta at the top of the Bay of Bengal, bringing dangerous winds, heavy rain, surging tide, and flooding. It's currently considered a super cyclone, only the second such storm in the area since 1999. The pandemic is intensifying the difficulty in preparing for the storm because India has 100,000 confirmed virus cases, while Bangladesh has 25,000. Both countries have imposed crippling lockdowns that have left tens of millions of people with no income. In Kuwait, Abu Othman has been affected by the virus in an unusual way. Like thousands of Kuwaiti men, he has struggled to split his time between his two wives who live in separate homes in the midst of strict lockdown rules. My life has become so complicated, the 45-year-old with 10 children said. I'm constantly on the move between them. The oil-rich country of Kuwait has imposed some of the strictest measures for the spread and control of the virus, which has so far infected 15,000 people and claimed 118 lives. Last week, Kuwait announced a nationwide total lockdown. Traditional Islamic law allows Muslim men to marry up to 4 women, a custom initially meant to ensure the welfare of widows and orphans, of those who had died fighting for Islam. A strict requirement is that men treat all their wives equally and fairly. Abu Othman married his first wife in 2001 and his second in 2006. They live apart by 25 miles. Though polygamy has become increasingly uncommon in much of the Muslim world, Tunisia was the first predominantly Muslim country to abolish the practice in 1956. A Kentucky woman, with the help of her husband, gave birth over the weekend in a hospital parking lot just steps away from the entrance. It was the middle of the night. The hospital doors were locked, and the couple had to use a handmade face mask to tie off the umbilical cord. Mother and child are doing well. Well, this is a day of good news, of bad news, of confusing news. And yet behind it all, to know that this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is Ken Smith reminding you it happened today, May 20th, 2020.